When a long term relationship ends, the public usually focuses on who moved on first. But what we don't often talk about is the quiet, emotional aftermath for the person who didn't. Today, I'm asking the cards one focused question. What does Tom Brady really think and feel about Gisele's new relationship and new life? This reading is for insight and reflection only, not judgment. We'll be looking at his emotional energy, what remains unresolved, and where he truly is now. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to me and my spirits. This should be a really interesting, fun reading. I want to get deep into the cards, and I am using my Afro Brazilian tarot deck. And the cool thing about this is, if you haven't realized, Gisele is Brazilian. She's not Afro Brazilian, but she's definitely Brazilian. And from what I heard, I read an article that talked about how part of why Tom believes and Gisele believe that they've had such good luck with Tom's career was because Gisele is a very spiritual person. And some would argue that maybe she did some kind of spell to create Tom's good luck and ensure his longevity. But with that being said, I think this is more than the appropriate platform to get into it. The first question that I am asking the tarot is, what does Tom actually think? What does he think about Gisele and her new relationship? Let's start there. What does Tom think? First card out the deck is a Four of Swords. The Four of Swords is actually representative of solitude and exile. It's also a representative of isolation and confusion, misunderstanding. And what this tells me is that Tom, still to this day, even though he and Gisele have formally and officially divorced, and according to all of the headlines, it wasn't a messy or contentious divorce at all. It was almost like just an understanding that this is where their marriage had come to, and this was the natural next step in the life of their relationship, was to get divorced. But a Four of Swords is definitely indicative of there being a lot of confusion. The tarot is saying Tom is confused. Maybe there was some level of a misunderstanding, but in so many ways, he probably thought that there could be some type of resolve between the two of them. Four of Swords says that Tom is very confused about this relationship that she has currently right now with her, I believe it was the child's jujitsu instructor. So he's thoroughly confused by it and has very little understanding of how it got to this point and how the relationship even came about and persisted. And I've also pulled the Nine of Cups, and the Nine of Cups is actually symbolic of there being a level of satisfaction, destiny, and certainty. So it sounds like, again, that Tom probably kind of saw the writing on the wall with their marriage, and that this was a natural sort of next step in the course of their marriage. And for us on the outside looking in, of course, we don't like to see or hear of divorce when it comes to really anyone. But it sounds like he feels, and he's probably felt for quite some time, that this was ultimately the destiny of their relationship. And he knew it almost with a level of certainty. And the next question that I want to know is, what does Tom tell himself versus what he actually feels? Because you all know that anytime there's a breakup, when some of you have gone through a period or a phase or a stage where your relationship ended, there's this whole thing about what you tell yourself versus what you're actually feeling in the moment. And so we want to know, what is Tom telling himself at this moment in time about his relationship with Gisele? I have pulled out the hangman, and the hangman is representative of uncertainty, and a situation is very much a temporary situation. And so, what he's telling himself is all of these feelings around confusion, and maybe perhaps there was some type of misunderstanding in their relationship. He really likely feels that, at least what he's telling himself at this moment, is that this is only a temporary situation, in that he's lacking clarity about how it came to this point. But he feels that as time goes on and moves on, he likely will gain a lot more clarity about Gisele's moving on with the jujitsu instructor. And how he actually feels, according to the tarot, is the Queen of Wands. The Queen of Wands suggests that this still for Tom is very much a delicate situation. This is how he actually feels, ladies and gentlemen. The situation for him is still very delicate, and out of loyalty and respect for who he is as a person, and for the marriage and connection and relationship that he had with Gisele, it's only fair for him to continue to allow time to pass, so that the confusion that he still has lingering confusion about how it came to this, even though he kind of felt like it was ultimately going to come to this. He wants to allow time to pass for him to gain more clarity around it. And that's where his loyalty lies. You know, him and Gisele, they still have children together, they had a family together, and he feels like the best place for him and the most fair place for him to be in, with seeing Gisele move on and enter into not only a new relationship, but have a new child with a totally different man. He, the tarot is indicating that the best way he knows to be loyal is to treat the situation as a delicate situation, and to allow more time to pass so that he can gain greater clarity and more understanding around not only why their relationship ended, because the tarot is indicating that he's understanding that, he's at peace with that. It's just why she chose the person that she chose, and how and why she's moving on in the way that she's moving on. The next question is there any unresolved energy between Tom and Gisele? Now, this is a great question, because for those on the outside looking in, I don't know if any of you have seen any recent pictures of Tom and Gisele sharing the same space at all. But we know they have to co-parent, and we know most likely they have some level of contact with each other. So, what is that energy between them like? And is there any unresolved energy between Tom and Gisele? The tarot says Seven of Wands. Seven of Wands is indicative of obstacles and talk. And the tarot is really indicating that they likely have existing unresolved energy that involve a lack of communication and overcoming some of the obstacles that most likely came up in their marriage, that maybe they still, probably now that they're outside of their marriages and they've divorced, that they probably still encounter when it comes to communication, most likely around the kids. From what I read, it seemed that all of their assets and everything they had accumulated together, that had been resolved. So most likely, whatever communication challenges that probably existed with and between them before, as it pertains to how they communicate with each other and what whatever obstacles they encountered in terms of not seeing eye to eye around their children, the tarot is indicating that those unresolved energies most likely still exist between the two of them, and that's something that with their relationship they're likely going to have to work to continue to overcome. Seven of Wands does indicate that their unresolved energy is very challenging. The next question is how Tom perceives Gisele's new partner and her new life. Okay, because let's be honest, Gisele is that girl. She's lived really well for a very long time, and so has Tom. He's lived a good life too. And so, on the outside looking in, we can only assume that they lived quite well together. We're dealing with two highly successful individuals who are known all over the world. So that public image has afforded them certain luxuries in life. And with that being said, for Gisele to not only move on, but have a new partner and a new child and a new life. What's Tom thinking about this? The Fool. Out of all cards, the Fool, honey. He feels from his vantage point that Gisele's new partner and her new life is unstable. And from his mind, he feels like it's absolutely crazy. It's insanity. He doesn't understand it fully, but he feels like it's crazy. Let me pull another card. Why would he feel that way? Out of the deck comes the Justice card. Even though Tom feels this situation that Gisele has with her new partner and her whole new life, on some level, he feels that her having the partner that she chose, there's a fair amount of justice that has existed in her connection with the jujitsu instructor. It's almost like Tom is feeling that this is what allowed him and Gisele to resolve their legal cases swiftly and quickly without much conflict. It's because of her partner and her new life. Gisele obviously had a desire to move on and to not let Tom be the only love or the last love she had in her life. Tom can look at how this whole situation has played out, even though he doesn't fully understand it, even though he feels it's absolutely crazy that she would choose the partner that she has chose. He feels that it has saved him a lot of grief. It has likely saved him a lot of money, and it has saved him a lot of bad feelings because they were able to resolve their differences quite swiftly because Gisele was ready to move on with her life. Next question. Where is Tom energetically in love and his own identity now that things have come to an end between he and Gisele? Gisele moved on, and even now, still, she's welcomed a new baby. So, where is he in his own identity and energetic feelings about love? The Nine of Swords is what comes out of the deck at this moment. Ladies and gentlemen, the tarot shines through in these messages. I could not have predicted this, but it makes sense. The Nine of Swords represents mourning, pain, separation. So, energetically, when it comes to love, I'd say Tom is really not in a place to even think about falling in love or getting married or having more children. He's not in that space. He is still very much in the space of mourning the loss of his marriage, of his relationship with Gisele, the fact that she has a new child, the fact that she's in a relationship with a man that really, quite frankly, she chose to be with this man. And it was fairly quickly after the two of them separated and divorced. So he is still grappling with that. And I think all of the energy in the cards have suggested that he is not quite clear on how it got there, even though he's understanding that this is where it was ultimately going to go. But he's just confused about why would she choose him? Why is she not only choosing the jujitsu instructor, but why did she choose a man who, and this is no disrespect to her new partner, but there's really no fair way to compare him and Tom Brady. It's just not. And so I don't even think it warrants a comparison, because the comparison is just not even going to remotely be fair. And I think that's where Tom is super confused about, like, how did we get here? Why did she choose him? Not only did she choose him, but she's started this brand new life and created a new life with this man. He is really grappling with that loss, and he's still in mourning. I'm not sure what date they were divorced, but this is a very deep cut and a very deep wound that he's had to deal with. And he still does not really fully understand a lot of it. And so, for all of you single ladies out there who may have Tom Brady on your bingo card, I'm telling you, he's not in a space to seriously pursue love or be open to a solid, deep connection that could potentially lead him to a second wife with a whole new life. He's definitely not where Gisele is in his journey to move on and move forward. There's still quite a bit of healing that he has to do before he gets there. Final card. What is the advice, the lesson, or the next phase for Tom Brady? The Tarot has produced the card of Temperance. The rainbow actually represents the continuation of life after death. And I think that's appropriate for a man like Tom Brady, because he has such an impeccable resume with the NFL or within the NFL. And he has a real true legacy that a lot of athletes in general truly look up to. And so he is one of those American figures that really will have a lasting legacy that will persist even once he is gone. I imagine he's probably done a decent amount of work charitably as well. So I'm not well versed on it. I just know a lot of the NFL athletes do that kind of thing. So I'm certain he probably is in that category. But the advice from the Tarot and the lessons that Brady can learn from this stage and phase when it comes to the ending of his marriage with Gisele is really giving himself a lot more patience. You know, understanding and clarity takes time, and it can also require a great deal of patience when you're going through it. And so, for those of you who may have a similar situation where you've experienced the end of a relationship and you see your ex husband, ex wife, or ex boyfriend, ex girlfriend, you see that he or she has moved on. The Tarot is indicating, and I think all of you can take this lesson as well, to allow yourself to be patient with the process, be patient with the healing process. Healing takes time. reflection is important. Temperance is all about reflection as well. So, reflection is important because it allows you to put things in perspective. It allows you to get to a space where you've accepted this is something that has happened. There may not be any level of patience and reflection that will allow you to understand every aspect of that loss. And I think there's a great deal of acceptance that has to come with that as well. So I hope this reading gave you a greater insight on a man who has the respect of many around the world. And stay tuned for another reading, because if you have not subscribed to the channel, make it a point to take a moment and subscribe. Until next time, ladies and gentlemen.